What are the main plants that we should never be eating then?
Okay, real quick. Up until 10,000 years ago, we lived primarily on the leaves of trees, and we ate tubers that grew in the ground, like a sweet potato for a yam.
Love those.
Yeah, they're pretty darn good for you. You were actually designed to eat them. And
Very good.
12,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago, we switched over to things that we had never eaten before. And those were the grains of grasses and beans. Now, the reason we'd never eaten them before is, number one, we didn't need to. There's never been a documentation of an ape eating grass or grains. Beans are so lethal that 5 raw kidney beans will kill a human being in 5 minutes by coagulating their blood.
What?
5 raw kidney beans.
Raw kidney beans.
In fact, most people have heard of the poison ricin, the white powder you send to your elected official.
Yeah.
Lots on the way to Washington,
Yeah,
but that's
yeah.
another subject. So ricin is the lectin of the castor bean, and we'll talk about lectins next. A lectin is the plant defense system. These are proteins that are designed to basically kill us in one way or another.
Oh my gosh.
And so ricin is so powerful that about 4 molecules of ricin will kill a human being instantaneously. There's a great study that was written up in one of the journals about a few years ago. They decided to have a healthy eating day in Boston.
Yeah.
And they served the kids beans. And because it's so healthy.
Right.
Part of the blue zone.
Yes.
And they had 30 or 40 admissions to the hospital.
No way.
With severe diarrhea, hypotension, and it turns out that it was all the fact that the beans were undercooked. And beans are a plant baby, and we're not supposed to eat those. And so
no beans.
No beans.
0 beans.
Unless you use
Pinto,
a pressure.
black beans.
Pinto black.
None of it. We shouldn't be eating it.
Shouldn't be eating it. You weren't designed to eat it. You have no defense system
against it. No matter how it's cooked.
It. If you pressure cook it, it's fine.
Pressure cook it. What does that even mean?
Put it in a pressure cooker.
The
modern pressure cooker is as easy as a rice cooker.
Got it.
It's one touch. It's not your grandmother's pressure cooker that blew up in the kitchen. And
so then it's okay to eat.
Yeah. So you can pressure cook beans. Now, the other thing, we weren't designed to eat grains.
Now, just a quick question before you start there. How much of it can we eat? Does it matter once it's pressure cooked? Obviously, everything in moderation, but I mean...
Yeah, well, like I was presenting...
Like 20 beans are going to kill me? Or what?
No, if you pressure cook them, they're fine.
It's all good. Okay,
yeah.
cool.
And we talk about how to do this in the plant paradox.
Got it. Okay, cool.
But my personal feeling is the only purpose of eating a bean is to get olive oil into my mouth, and we can talk about that as we go along.
Okay.
So grains, for instance, everybody heard about gluten.
Yes.
All right. So gluten is a lectin. And again, a lectin is a plant's defense system. It's a protein that actually is designed to act like incoming guided missile attacks on the inside wall of our gut. And these things actually pry open the lining of our gut and actually break through the border.
Really?
Yeah, they really do.
That's what causes eczema and
bingo.
Causes breakouts.
Yeah, exactly. Acne, brain fog, irritable bowel. This is actually all part of that process.
Wow.
And so it's fascinating to see people who either have come to see me or have even read the book and then write on Amazon, oh my gosh, I had this horrible eczema and now a month later it's all gone and all I did was, take grains and beans and nightshades away from my diet and everything got better. So that brings us to the second kind of group of things we shouldn't eat. All of us are not from the United States, America. We're actually from Europe, Asia, or Africa. Every one of us.
Yeah. So,
and even our Native Americans are actually not Native Americans. They're from Asia. Get over it.
Right. Right.
So none of us were exposed to an American plant until 500 years ago when Columbus started trade. So getting to know a new plant, a new lectin, in 500 years is speed dating. in evolution. I just don't think it can be done. For instance, the Italians refused to eat tomatoes for 200 years after their native son Columbus brought them back because they knew how dangerous they were. They were part of the deadly nightshade family.
Really?
And when they started eating them, they always peeled and de-seeded their tomatoes because the peels and the seeds actually have the vast majority of the lectins. And it's interesting. Years ago, I did my fellowship in children's heart surgery in London, England, and I had a house officer from Italy, and he invited me up for pasta and tomato sauce.
Yes.
And so I brought, it'd be nice if I bought a couple cans of canned tomatoes, help out.
Sure.
And he looks at it, he says, "Why did you bring me this? We can't use this." And I said, "What do you mean? It's canned tomatoes." He says, "It's got peels and seeds. You can't make sauce with peels and seeds." He says, "Mamma mia, what am I going to do with you?" He says, you can't use peels and seeds. And I said, "Why?" He says, "They're deadly." And I said, "Really?" And he says, "Yeah, everybody knows that." And then I thought back. As a child, my grandmother was French, and she taught my mother that you always peel and de-seed tomatoes before you slice them and serve them. So until I went to Yale, I had never had a slice of a tomato with a peel and a seed.
Wow.
And this has come from cultures.
Yeah.
For instance, peppers. Peppers are the same way. They're part of the nightshade family. You'll never open a glass jar of Italian bell peppers and see peels and seeds because they're gone. And the most striking thing is the Southwest American Indians always peel and de-seed their peppers before they eat them. The Hatch chili roast will be happening in another month. And what do? They roast their chilies, peel the scarred off part, de-seed them, and then they eat them or they make them into chili powder.
Right.
And, you can prove this in your grocery store. Buy a can of green chilies, chopped green chilies, open it up. You won't see any peels and seeds because they're gone.
So tomatoes and
peppers, eggplant, potatoes. And potatoes,
if you peel them and seed these things,
you're safer, correct. But you can pressure cook them, and they're fine.
And they're okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Now, there's two American beans that everyone should stay away from. Peanuts are not a nut; they're a bean.
So good, though.
94% of human beings carry a preformed antibody against the peanut lectin. We can take rhesus monkeys, our cousins. Give them peanut oil, and they will develop atherosclerosis, heart disease.
Really?
If we take the lectin out of the peanut oil and then give them the peanut oil, they will not develop heart disease.
So if you get lectin-free peanut butter.
There is no such thing.
Dang it. Okay.
So get almond butter instead.
Yes.
It's much
so
safer.
No peanut butter.
No, stay away from it.
You should eliminate it 100% from your system.
We can take, and this has been done, men, feed them peanuts, take their bowel movements, feed them to rats, and you will grow cancerous cells in the rat colon because they've been exposed to the peanut lectin.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Love peanut butter, though.
Oh,
so I can have as much almond butter as I want.
And I went to medical school in Georgia. Jimmy Carter, peanuts are
peanut
everything
sandwiches,
in Georgia. Yeah, no, sorry.
So eliminate it.
Gone. Say goodbye.
This will help me live longer, have a happier, healthier body.
And then
system.
I won't have to operate on you,
Right.
when you have coronary disease. And you'll go, what?
Gosh.
I eat so healthy. I'm having my peanut butter.
How many surgeries have you done?
Oh, over 10,000.
10,000. Do you have is that what it is, the record?
No, not
Someone said it was a record-setting heart surgery. Heart surgeries, no?
Yeah.
No. How many heart surgeries?
10,000.
10,000.
10,000. Yeah, it's a lot of heart surgery.
What's the cause of these heart diseases?
So
and
it's
the reason why you have to do so many of these.
It's all in the plant paradox. So 17 years ago, I met a guy by the name of Big Ed, who was a 38-year-old guy who came to see me at Loma Linda because I'm one of these surgeons who will operate on anybody.
Wow. Big Ed.
Take the rip. Big Ed.
500-pounder?
Big Ed, actually, when I met him, he weighed 265 pounds.
Wow.
But he had such extensive coronary artery disease that you couldn't put stents in him. You couldn't do bypasses because there wasn't any place to land. And he was from Miami, and he'd been going around the country carrying his angiogram, the movie of his heart, his cardiac catheterization. And everybody's turning him down. And he finally, after about 6 months of this, comes to see me, and I'm looking at his angiogram, and I'm going, I don't like to turn people down, but everybody's right. We're not going to do you any good. And he said, well, wait a minute. Here's the deal, Doc. I've been on a diet for the last 6 months, and I've lost 45 pounds. Now, this is a 265-pounder sitting across from me. It looks like a biker, big gut. And he says, and I've gone to this health food store, and I've taken all these supplements. And he actually brought in this shopping bag full of supplements. He said, maybe I did something in here. And I'm going, yeah, all right. I'm kind of scratching my professor beard and saying, well, I know good for you for losing weight, but it's not going to do anything in here. And I know what you did with all those supplements. You made expensive urine. Right, and I really believe that. So he said, well, come on, it's been 6 months. I've come all this way. What would it hurt to get another angiogram, another cardiac catheterization? I said, okay. And so we get a new cath on him. And in 6 months' time, this guy cleans out 50% of the blockages in his heart. 50%. Gone.
Pretty good.
It's pretty darn good. It's unbelievable.
Wow.
For instance, statistically, on the best statin drug, like Crestor, Lipitor, with the lowest levels of LDL, we scientists at the American Heart Association get crazy if after 5 years your plaque burden has decreased 0.5%.
Wow.
And we go crazy and we go, oh my gosh, this is a miracle. It's the greatest drug discovery of all time.
Right.
And we go, really? So this guy, 50% are gone in 6 months. So I actually was so excited I operated on him and did a 5-vessel bypass. But if I knew what I knew now, I'd say, hey, great, another year, this will all be clear.
Keep going. You won't need the surgery.
So I start talking to him about what he did on this diet. And lo and behold, he gets started on this. I go, time out. I said, I had this crazy thesis at Yale University that I did for 4 years back in the dark ages of human evolutionary biology. And my thesis was you could take a great ape, change its food supply, and change its environment and predict you would arrive at a human being. And I actually successfully defended it and got honors, blah, blah, blah. And so I had given it to my parents and went off to be a famous heart surgeon.
Sure.
And so he's talking about this. I go, wait a minute, this is my crazy thesis. And here I am, this big guy, running, and I had pre-diabetes.
You were.
Yeah.
This is 15 years ago.
Yeah, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Running and eating a healthy, low-fat diet. And
why did all the doctors seem like they're bigger?
Yeah, exactly. And, we're given all this advice. And so I called my parents in San Diego. I said, hey, you got this thesis? Oh, yeah, it's in the shrine.
Yes.
Eternal flame.
The whole room of your accomplishments.
Yeah, that's right. So I said, send it up to me. So I put myself on my thesis, and I lost 50 pounds my first year.
Wow.
And I lost another 20 pounds subsequently, and I've taken it off. And then I started putting my patients who, at Loma Linda, who I operated on this program, and their blood pressure went to normal, their diabetes went away, their heart disease didn't come back. And so after about a year of this, I was looking in the mirror on one Friday, and I said, I can't do what I do anymore because I can teach people how to avoid me. So I actually resigned my position. My wife still calls it Black Friday.
When was this?
15 years ago.
You resigned?
I resigned.
From doing surgeries
from being chairman of heart surgery at Loma Linda. Yeah.
Wow. Just because you felt like this wasn't solving the actual
It wasn't solving
root.
the problem. It was just putting a Band-Aid on it.
The surgeries.
The surgeries, yeah. I was famous for 4-time, 5-time redo surgeries on somebody who kept clogging up their blood vessels. Mm-hmm. And it's like...
You could fix them up, but it's like...
Yeah, okay, they're going to be back in a couple of years.
Yeah.
So I set up an institute in Palm Springs where all I ask people to do is every 3 months, let me take about 10 tubes of blood out of you, and we'll send it to some labs. Insurance will pay for it.
Wow.
And see what asking you to eat certain foods does, and asking you to take certain supplements that you could find at Costco or Trader Joe's does. And that resulted in my first book in 2008 called Dr. Gundry's Diet Evolution. But then subsequently, I've seen about 50% of my practice is autoimmune disease. And people would come in and say, hey, what do you know about autoimmune disease? And I go, I don't know anything about autoimmune disease, but I'm a transplant immunologist, and that means how do I get the immune system of you to accept the heart of a pig, for instance. And I hold the world record for the longest pig to baboon heart transplant, 28 days. That's the world record. Wow. So I started manipulating the immune system by food. And sure enough, you've got an autoimmune disease. We can teach you to get rid of it by changing, primarily getting lectins out of your diet.
That's it, huh?
And changing your gut bugs to be basically friendly gut bugs. And the friendly gut bugs actually tell your immune system that, hey guys, we're all great down here. We're down at the beach. We're singing Kumbaya, the beautiful bonfire. And your immune system is basically the cops. And the cops go, oh, yeah, we know these kids, great kids. Let's go have a donut. And now, so that's how it's supposed to be. But let's suppose a gang member moves into your neighborhood. Now, all of a sudden, you're putting up bars on your windows, and you got neighborhood watch patrols, and you're shooting guys with hoodies without asking questions. So what's happened to most of us, through some of the foods we eat, like all these wonderful snacks we're talking about, we've let these gang members loose. And the good guys actually can't eat simple sugars and these saturated fats. They want leaves and they want tubers.
So they die off.
They die off, exactly. So the gang members are running rampant, and now your immune system is going, oh my gosh, the city's taken over by gang members, and we're going to have armed patrols everywhere, and anytime we see anything that looks a little odd, we're going to shoot and ask questions later. And so what's happened to everybody with autoimmune disease is their immune system is just hyper on guard because it's no longer getting the messages from the good bugs. Chill out, everything's cool, kumbaya, love, 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 peace and love.
And if you want to learn about the key foods you need to eat to master your health, make sure to watch this video right here.
Whole, unprocessed, unrefined foods.
Yes.
We should get rid of food additives,
Foods
hormones.
From the ground,
everything. Yeah. No antibiotics, no hormones, no pesticides, no GMO. We should be having no MSG.